we cannot be a gentleman if we don't know virtues. Confucius said, if we don't know our fate, we cannot be a gentleman. If we don't know virtues or integrity, we cannot survive in the world. What is fate? Do we have a fixed fate? Whether we are rich or poor, it's all destined. In the ancient Oriental wisdom, are there any truth about our fate and our fortunes? Welcome to watch Grandmaster JinBodhi's About Fate series so that we can learn the truth about fate. Hello, my dear friends. Hello, everyone. So today, it's time for us to talk about choices again. So in this topic about choices, whether we should choose employment or entrepreneurship, so this is part 3. I give part 3 the topic of sense of happiness in our career. What is that sense of happiness? If we can find what we like, what we love to do, then we will feel accomplished. We will feel happy. Say, for example, my father, when he was a construction worker, sometimes he was proud of himself and he talked about his expertise, and he said, see, well, in this construction, I usually would put the bricks together. Nothing that I won't be able to do. If I need to build the wall or a pole, it's easy for me. And I can use the bricks to, build a round pole or a bridge. So a pole with like 1 meter diameter or 60 centimeters diameter, it's different. And so if we have, you need to consider the gravity, the force, and the how it can bear the pressure. And so they have to consider all of those. So sometimes when he think about his work, and he said, so I really enjoy my work, and I feel proud of myself, and I feel accomplished. And one of his colleagues is a carpenter, a senior carpenter. And after he heard what my father says, and he said, this carpenter said, in this construction site, every carpenter work I can do, even the hardest the most complicated doors, I can make it. And so I feel like I haven't wasted my time, live this world, live this life. And so he really enjoyed his job. At that time, they're all employers, employees. At that time, I don't think they have many entrepreneurs. I also know, a chef in a restaurant. At that time, they have those canteens, and he was the chef for all the desserts. It's not these Western desserts. Those are like it's like those pancakes or like those like those bagels, or so they will also put some sugar there or maybe honey there. And the restaurant is open to the public, but it's a state-owned restaurant. And so he said, see, all these desserts, I'm the best chef. I've already had more than 40 apprentices. And sometimes he would also do deep fries, and the deep fry made him sometimes it's hard for his respiratory system, but he still is proud of himself. And a few years ago in China, because of the economic reform, people are doing some business, and I met someone who owns a restaurant, and the restaurant run pretty well. He was not a chef, but he just want to make a living and support the family. When he was young, he did something wrong maybe, and he was put in jail. And when he came out of the jail, he has a wife and 2 children and have parents. And because he was in jail before, so it was very hard for him to find a job. And so what can he do? And he still need to support the family, and he felt tremendous pressure. And the good thing is that his wife didn't leave him and still stayed with him, and she thought that her husband is pretty good. She thought that her husband just, accidentally did something wrong. But so because they couldn't be employed, so they opened a restaurant, and they don't have money to hire a chef, and so they just sort of go and rent a booth to sell food. So they went to a market, they rent the booth and started to sell those deep-fried food. And so, yeah, and finally his children, I think in 2000 something, his children all immigrated to China. And when he got to know me, and he was actually feeling very peaceful. He said, I don't have many skills, but I work hard. I can even make enough money to send my kids to Vancouver, to UBC. And so he felt really accomplished. And neither of the couple, they were chefs, and they have never been an employer before, but so they learn from those chefs, and sometimes they will hire a chef, and then they try to learn how to cook from the chef. It's kind of like stealing their skill, but they actually didn't do it in a wrong way, because they were just afraid that what if the chef will leave them, and they just want to keep the restaurant running. And well, that became true after a year, because the chef left after a year, and then so he became the chef, and then his wife then became the main chef, and then his so they started from just a booth in the market, and then he eventually had restaurant. And so all his children actually did very well in studies. He worked very hard, and he told his children he wants to first make a living and support his children to go to school. And he did very well in the restaurant. And so in China, when private school just started, and he started to send his children to go to those private schools, and therefore those children had very good education, so that he hoped that his children would not have to live such a hard life. And so when I saw him, he was very proud of himself and felt very accomplished. And so when you either employed or have your own business, if you do very well, and if you can make a good living, and then you will enjoy your job or your business. So Joyce, you can also share yours. Well, Joyce said, what I heard is that I heard this couple open the restaurant. This actually matches what you mentioned about who is suitable to open a business, to start a business. Well, because this couple, they actually don't have any other way out, and they also need to support the family, and they want to their children to go to school and have good education, and so they start from zero and from small to big. They worked very hard and started from, Grandmaster said, just starting from a booth in a market. And so at the beginning, when they're doing fried breadstick, they learn from his mother, actually. So he picked his mother and came to live with them, and then he even go around and ask the neighbors how to make these deep fried breadstick. And some people see that he was just trying to make a living, and so a lot of people was willing to help him, and that's why he finally was able to keep the business. So he learned as he goes. And so his intention is very simple. There's nothing that he cannot do, and there's no hard job that he would refuse. And they worked really, really hard. That's what his children told me. He said, they said that their father always get up earlier than 5 a.m. And once he get up in the restaurant, there are so many things to do, to clean up all the dishes, and to buy the supplies and for the restaurant. He hired other people to do it before, but maybe some of the employees, they might want to, make some money for themselves. And so he had to do these himself. And eventually, he found that just with his own skill to manage a restaurant is actually very tiring. And so when he already understands all different aspects of the skills in this that needed in a restaurant, he started to hire a chef. And he even trained other employees to cook food. And so just in case the chef will leave one day, and other employees will also be able to cook. And so he thought in many different ways in his management, and he had lots of tips to how to make this restaurant run well. And then he became very good at working with the chef and other employees, and therefore he had a good relationship with them, and some of his employees even worked for him for more than 20 years. They already worked or 20 or 25 years, and they're like a family member. And even when the employer, the owner of the restaurant is not there, they feel the sense of responsibility, and then they care about the restaurant. So is it better to choose employment or entrepreneurship? If you have that question, I would say, first of all, to make a living, and secondly, do what you like to do. What you love to do. Some people, they are very capable of doing some business, and they can also do it for very long, and they can grow. Say, for example, one of the most wealthiest person like Bill Gates, the owner of Microsoft, and also a very unique and famous person. His name is Zhang Zhongmo, Morris Chang. He's a renowned semiconductor entrepreneur and founder of TSMC. He is very famous, very renowned, and he is expert in semiconductor, and he also created a miracle. He started from just a young student like semiconductor, and then in this industry he created TSMC, which is famous all over the world. Could you tell his story? It's actually a very interesting and wonderful story. And so he was born in 1931, so he's already 89 years old. And he was born in China when he was young. He was in Hong Kong and educated in Hong Kong when he was 18 years ago. He went to study in Harvard University. And so from Harvard University, he went to MIT. After 5 years, well, he was learning engineering. So after he graduates, there are different choices for employment, and he can go to Ford company. And so actually that also matches his major. And another choice is to go to a new industry. So at that time, as for semiconductor, that was very advanced and very new. So he made a choice because Ford gave him $479 per month, and that semiconductor company will give him $480. So just because of $1 difference, he chose the company that does semiconductor, and because of that, he actually chose the direction for her career. So he went to that, he entered that industry, and once he entered the industry, because he never learned about semiconductor, so the first several years in his career, for 3 years, every night he would read books and learn from zero and from the beginning. And so he learned while he was working. That semiconductor company didn't run very well, and the owner of the company said, "Oh, the product that they can produce, that they cannot sell, but what other people want to buy, they cannot produce." That's very difficult. Yeah. And so Morris Chang remembered that, and so he said, if I do my own business, I cannot do like this. I cannot do the same. And so he learned a big lesson from this company. And after 3 years, he went to another bigger company, Texas Instruments, and they were also, it's a big company, and Texas Instrument also just involved into semiconductor industry. And so Morris Chang also started from the beginning, step by step, and he did better and better, and so he started to grow. And during the work, and he went to Stanford University, he also learned in Stanford University and got the PhD degree. And yeah, so he accumulated a lot of knowledge in this area. And so for 8 years, actually was the time when he actually served, and it also was the time when semiconductor industry started to grow rapidly. Yeah, so at that time, using these semiconductors, they were the most advanced industry, and it's like a very revolutionary product. And so in those 8 years, he was very successful. He was in Texas Instrument, maybe except the CEO and CFO, he was like number 3 in the company, and he's leading 40,000 people. You know, in the United States, to lead 40,000 people, it was a very, very big group. And after he went back to Taiwan, actually, to establish TSMC, after many years, his company was able to reach like 40,000 employees. So in 1970s and 1980s, that Texas Instrument, they chose to go to civil products, like the calculators, electronic, watch or clocks, and so they decided to do these civil products instead of doing semiconductors. And so Morris Chang, his career seems to come to it's not an end, but he cannot do semiconductors, so he had to leave Texas Instrument. And he went to another company. He was hired there to go to become the CEO of that company. But after 1 year, the board of directors doesn't like him, even though the clients and likes him, but the board of directors actually, I don't know, they don't like him, and so he was kicked out. And so that was a very low point of his life. When he was in his 50s, he was invited to come to Taiwan, and he established this world-renowned company, TSMC. When he just started it, he had a very big vision. This semiconductor company, he wanted to do it a world famous company. And so he had many factories. TSMC had many factories, many branches, and also, he doesn't do his own brand, but he will make manufacture for other brand names, like they will manufacture parts for Intel or other famous brands, and he can earn very good profit for making the parts for other brand names. And so he specialized in manufacturing parts for very famous brands. And that wasn't easy, though. But under his leadership and through many years of development, TSMC now occupies 60% of the market, and Morris Chang becomes the godfather in Taiwan. We can just consider that it's like a silicon chip. It's like a chip. And so in 2005, he wanted to retire. And then 2008 and 2009, because of the economic crisis, the new leaders in TSMC had really a lot of difficulties, so they had to invite Morris Chang to come back to become the CEO, because they really needed him during the economic crisis. And so he worked until 2016, when he was 86 years old. And so he was very successful. His personal asset is like billions of dollars, and he was very hardworking and very diligent. And this TSMC, the core value of TSMC, they are very they keep their promises and really value their reputations. And so in 2020, the market value of TSMC is $410 billion. It's already it's even more than Intel. becomes the number one in the whole world. And TSMC is number 10, the 10th largest enterprise in the whole world. Of course, in Taiwan, of course, even in the whole world, it's the 10th biggest company, and it's the number one in that industry. And in Taiwan, of course, this is the largest company in the whole in Taiwan, and so their stock accounts for 23% of the Taiwan stock market. Yeah, so if their stock has any, change, and then the whole Taiwan stock market will have an earthquake, maybe. So when we listen to the news, we know that iPhone will have iPhone 12. That's the newest version, and so all the chips in silicon, they actually all the chip card in iPhone 12 is made by TSMC. So, well, Grandmaster said, you're making an advertisement for iPhone 12, and also she said she's also making ads for TSMC. And so Grandmaster says, I'm just going to say whatever I'm thinking. So we'll just say as it goes. So for establishing business, Morris Chang, after he established TSMC, they actually manufacture for many famous brands. What does that mean? It's, say, for example, there's a very famous brand clothes, and you wear, say, for example, you wear a brand name clothes. Actually, those brand names, they usually don't have their own manufacturers. They usually will go all over the world to find a manufacturer to manufacture the clothes for them, as long as they can meet the quality standard. And so those factories that manufacture the clothes for these brand names, then they're called in Chinese like 代工. So they don't have their own, those factories, they don't have their own brand names. They just manufacture for some other brand names. So iPhone, I don't know if Apple has their own factories. I think when they assemble the parts, it's the Red Sea company that assemble all these parts. So this world is becoming smaller and smaller in ancient times. And when I was young, maybe about 30 or 40 years ago, if you want to have a good career, if you have a store or have a restaurant, if it has something to do with manufacturing, a lot of men like them. Say, for example, they would like to assemble a radio to sell, and maybe they will make a pressure bowl to sell, a pressure pot to sell. And so this relates to two processes. First is manufacturing, and the second is sales. So that's how a lot of Chinese products were stuck there, because they manufacture and manage the quality is very difficult. And then the second step, you need to sell all over the world. These two steps are very, very tiring and very hard. Actually, what Morris Chang, the first company Morris Chang worked in, they manufacture some product, but they cannot sell. So when Morris Chang established the TSMC in Taiwan, he said, I'm not going to think about sales. I'm just going to manufacture. Well, they actually sell their products just to the brand name. So those big brand name companies becomes his client. So this semiconductor, say for example that chip, a lot of companies will need this product, and they have different requirements. If those brand name companies, maybe if they manufacture themselves, it's not cost effective. And at that time, in Taiwan, the labor cost is more favored. And so therefore, that makes it possible for them to choose a Taiwan factory to manufacture. Of course, their technology at that time is not as good as Intel, because Intel was the #1 in the whole industry. So actually, at the beginning, his product was like 2 or 3 generations worse or lower than Intel, but they were very diligent in trying to catch up. And even Intel asked them to manufacture for Intel. And so you talk about manufacturing for another enterprise. So it's different from you manufacture something and then you sell yourself. But by manufacturing for brand names, it makes the sale so much easier. Maybe just one sells 5 years or even 10 years of manufactured products are already sold. And if the quality is guaranteed, then all those brand name companies want him to be their manufacturer, and then he would get better and better. And so he improved their technology, their skills, their qualities, and eventually they become #1 in the industry. So he first focused only on manufacturing. And so all the energy is focusing on one point. So they focus all the energy on one point, just the quality of the manufacturing. And Intel company, they will design, and then they will sell the product. So they actually focusing on the market and sales, because energy is limited, so they focus on one thing. Maybe they think, maybe some manufacturers would manufacture even better than ourselves, so why should we manufacture it ourselves? So the world becomes smaller and smaller, and the work becomes clearer and clearer. So now, you see, before people do manufacturing cells in one body, but now some factories will only do manufacturing, and some other companies only sell. And so there are some manufacturers, they actually only do manufacturing. This is very professional. So I like our young friends to learn about this concept of manufacturing for other companies. So those who manufacture, maybe it's better not to focus also on sales, and those who focus on sales, maybe not necessarily to also do manufacturing. So people who in some very advanced industry, this Morris Chang now is very famous and very successful. When he just started in this industry, it's just like nowadays when we just started to do some business, like online business or internet, marketing. And sometimes it's also because they have a very surprising product or surprising action, because it's very unique or very surprising. It's not a regular product. When your product is just a regular product, and say for example in a service like a restaurant or a beauty salon or hairdresser or a barbers, those are like traditional industry for service, and traditional manufacturing industry like construction company, or maybe automobile repair, or manufacturing tractors or automobiles, or textile industry. Those are traditional industry. So we call them like traditional industry. So in those traditional industry, there are still opportunities for us to explore and grow. Say, for example, in the construction industry, a few years ago, we actually posted a 3D printing for construction. So in every industry, they still have like new technologies and more advanced technology. Actually, many years ago, I heard about a new way of construction. So the wall is made by like cement. So they will make the wall first. So some wall have windows and some not. And so the engineers would measure them and then build them. So building a whole building would be very easy because the walls are all pre-made. And now we have these 3D printers. So a Californian company did those. They actually cast those walls actually very quickly. They just use one machine to build like a normal house, just one day. He would build that house in the factory, and then he just need to move that house to the site, and then the house would be built and completed. So even in traditional industries, there are still some aspects and some points that you can have the reform or improved or advanced. And so there are still some opportunities for us to develop and grow. So if you want to find a job or build or start a business, even in the traditional industry, you could still find opportunities. But if you want to, become famous quickly or make money quickly, what kind of company would be able to do that? We just mentioned Bill Gates. Like dozens of years ago, he did those personal computer. And as long as you open the computer, and then you have those windows. Yeah, Bill Gates' company is Microsoft. And so because he was the earliest to do that, and he also did the best, and so everybody will use his product. And even if he doesn't want to be wealthy, it's hard for him not to be wealthy. And every computer company will have to buy his software, and so therefore he definitely will get rich. And Facebook, Zuckerberg, who established Facebook, he went to Harvard to learn PhD, but then he wanted to establish this platform, and until today he's still working with this Facebook, and so so this Facebook also become a world-renowned company and a leading, So it's the Zuckerberg. I think his personal asset would also be a lot. And so Joy said, I don't know even how to pronounce the numbers, how to. I would say it would be like billions of dollars, probably more tens of billions of dollars. And he has a very famous quote. He said, many people in the world are very smart, and there are many people who are also very good in their technology or skills, but if they do not have a faith in what they do, they will not work that hard to reach their goal. And so for people who would grow rapidly to become the leaders in the world, like Elon Musk, who Yeah, I mentioned in my previous talks, he did so many things and succeeded when he was so young. He actually grabbed the opportunities in science and in some industries, and therefore he was able to sort of surprisingly having this success. And in China, Ma Yun was also successful. Well, his Alibaba, yeah, it was a very unique sales platform on the internet. Ma Yun went to the United States and he saw, oh, they have a computer. You can search which company can sell what kind of product. And so he started to organize the products in China to sell to the world. It was very hard at the beginning for him to start with, but he was very early. He was one of those pioneers, and when at the beginning people do not recognize, do not acknowledge that, and once he was acknowledged by everyone, then he completely succeeded. He was not like Bill Gates or Zuckerberg. Bill Gates and Zuckerberg actually was very good at the technology, but Ma Yun doesn't know anything about internet or any technology. He was just learning language, and he was a teacher for teaching language, but he saw the the future of this industry, and he predicted the future of this industry, and he started to do it. In the past, we have those yellow books. Nowadays, maybe we still have those yellow books, but I would say only maybe very seniors would use those yellow books. When you search any phone numbers or address of a company, you would usually use computers, use internet. And so Ma Yun started from internet and computers. And then he actually, those state-owned companies was very unhappy because he was competing with them. I am not going to mention those details. When you are doing some, advanced technology, you need to have some very, advanced way of thinking. And so it also needs to, you should be able to copy and could be manageable, and it can be turn into a new industry. So, from Morris Chang to Bill Gates to Zuckerberg to Ma Yun, and let alone those Japanese entrepreneurs, Panasonic, and Sony. They also, try to be the pioneers. They do electronics. So a lot of companies with 100 years of history, they developed very fast because they entered into a very new industry or advanced industry at the time. And so they start from doing those electronics and then to computers, so they have, step by step they started to grow. So Joy said, I'd like to share another story. It was close to 100-year-old company. So it's Disney. Yeah, 97 years now. So this company used to be kind of going down because who's going to watch those movies? Everything would be done by computers, would be very even more interesting. And so they had some challenges before, but they caught the opportunity in the economic development. So the CEO of Disney from 2005 to 2020, he's Robert Iger. He started from an employee from the lowest level, and eventually he grew into the position of CEO. And so after he graduated from university, he went to work in ABC company, and so he became the floor manager. And so he would just, help those people to order food or clean up. But anyways, he did very well, and he worked very hard. And while he was working, he was learning all the time. And he was very, very diligent. He worked every morning. He got up every morning at 4:30, and he started working at 6 a.m. And that habit actually kept for his whole life. Even when he was on a very high position, he always get up very, very early. So he was a very hard worker. And in this industry, it was not very easy. In this performance industry, it wasn't very easy. There are lots of celebrities, or there are people who are strange. And so dealing with all of those people are not necessarily very easy. And so after several years, this ABC company was purchased by another company. And so he went to the amusement industry, and then he was so he was very he didn't know anything about the industry, but he doesn't know anything detailed about his work, but he became the professional, like a manager, and he knows how to manage the company. And so the new company, he did very well, and he did in the new company he worked for 22 years, and in 19 and so the second company was purchased by Disney. So he actually only worked in one company for 45 years, but the first time ABC was purchased by the second company, and then the second company was purchased by the Disney. At the beginning, when Disney just purchased that company, he wasn't very fairly treated because he was not originally in Disney, but he was very kind and he was very capable, and eventually he was acknowledged by all the leaders of Disney. And after a few years, he went to the headquarters of Disney and had a very important position in Disney, and eventually he became the CEO of Disney. And starting from 2005, he was the CEO of Disney, and so he has a sense of responsibility. So he started to plan for the future of Disney, and so he talked with the directors of the board, and he talked to other companies. And so in 2006, he purchased Pixar. Yeah, so I think it's the Pixar animation studios, and it was actually established by George
然后他的最成功的电影就是《玩具总动员》，后来又有很多。
And
这个艾格哈，这个
Iger,
迪士尼的这个新任 CEO，
this
他
new
跟乔布斯就有
CEO
很好的个
Iger
人关系，
actually
彼此非常
has a
欣
very
赏和信
good
任。对，所以呢，把皮克斯
relationship
给收购了，
with
皮克斯收购了，皮克斯也得以很好的
Steve
发展，
Jobs,
迪士尼也得以很好的发
Steve
展。
Jobs,
这一次
and
合并
so
强强联
they
合，拯救了两家
you
公
know
司。
purchasing this company
这是
actually
后来呢，
made it was a
然
very
后他们
very
一
big
直呢还想
success
收
and
购这个
saved
另外
both
一个大的
companies
那个电影
and
公司叫漫
he
威。 漫威
also
它出
wanted
的就
to
像钢铁
purchase
人呐、美国队长
Manver
啊，就这些知
and
名的影
so
片啊。
they have
2009
also
年的时候
in
呢，他就迪
2009
士尼想收购
Marvel
漫威，漫威
heroes
的人家的 CEO 包括执行长，人家不想
the
不
hero
想
of
被收购的，
Marvel
不
they
信
don't
任，
they
反正我被收
didn't
购了，我
want
有
to
什
be
么好处啊
purchased
等等。
and
这个时
so
候
what's
是那
the
个乔布斯
benefit for
给那个
for
漫威
being
的老板
purchased
打电话
and
说
so
你可以信任艾格这个人，
Steve
你
Jobs
可以被这个迪士
actually
尼收购，
helped
收购了以
in
后
this
只有
process.
好
He
处没
said
有不好
he
的。
called the
在他的
CEO
这
of
种说服
Marvel
下，
and said
然后再
actually
加
it
上艾
is
格
a
他的
good
这种
thing
人
to
格
be
魅力
purchased
哈，
by
这种行业的这种
Disney
口碑，
and
然后有收购
because
成功
of
的收购了漫威。
his charm
2012年
and
又收购了卢卡斯影
persuasion
业，卢卡斯就是
that
星球大战
purchase
那个系
was
列的那一个
very
那个
successful
制造的那个影业公司，那多厉害呀！又收进来了。
and
2017年又把
in
21世纪福克斯这个
2017
一个
he
传统经典
also
的影片公司又
purchased
收购进来了。
2000
所以迪士尼就是一下子就是等于叫什么呀？这个叫重塑了一样的，
Fox
就是把
and
这
so
么大的
anyways
这么好
he
的最先
purchased
进的这些影业公司都
many
收到自己的旗下，
famous
所以就得以
companies
很好的发展。
to Disney and so that they can
还发
develop
展到
very
网络
fast
上，
and
咱们不
also
都
they
知道那个
develop
Netflix 哈，就是每月订购
on the
9.99
internet
然后
you
就
know
无限看影
everybody
片嘛。
everybody know
迪士尼
Netflix
人家也
if you
推出了
only
一个
pay
迪士
like
尼加
$9
迪士尼 Plus，
like
它人家才
$9
6.99
or
就可以无限的
$13
每个月
like
看迪
but
士尼的
also
影片，
Disney
它
they
就
have
走到这个网
Disney
络
Plus
直接的这
you
个
only
串
need
流
to
的这样
pay
的一
like
个平台了。
$6.99
所以
you
它技
can
术的先进性又
unlimited
抓住了现在
watch a lot of
最
movies
先进的这个
and
技术
so
的潮流。
he
这都是在
also
这个
catch the most
艾格
advanced
CEO 的领导下做成
technology
的。
and trend
而且
these
还有
are
他的
all
任内
done
呢，
under the
香
leadership
港
of
迪士尼
Iger
开业，上
and
海迪士尼开
because
业，
of
都
him
是在他的任内。
they
那么到
have like the
2019
Hong
年
Kong
的时候，
Disney and
那
Shanghai Disney
他
also
自己
were
被商业周刊
opened when
评
he was
选
the
为10
CEO
大经理人
and
哈，
he
最著名的。
and also
那
the
迪士
Tokyo
尼
one
公司呢，也是一下子就翻转回来了。在2019年10大
in
卖座全球
2020
美国10大卖座
2019
影片之中，迪士尼
the
出产的就占了
most
6部。
you know
一下子就
popular
回到龙舟
movies
老大来的这个地位了。
the 10 most popular movies Disney has 6 of them and so
创造了辉煌
now
啊
he
也把他的
has
公司
created
创
a
造了一个
glory
辉煌。
in the history of
然后呢，
himself
他
and also in the
2015
history
年的
of
时候呢
Disney
这个 CEO 他就想
in
退休，他想退休，他找到接班人了。董事会不
actually
干
in
呐，说那你可不能退
2015
哈，
he
就
wanted to
连续
retire
4
but
次
the
让他又连任，
you know
就
the
是这样。
directors
那
doesn't
么就
want
到
him
了
to retire so there were 4
2020年，就
times they
今年的2
persuaded
月
him
份，他
to
终于宣布他要退休了。
to
这个宣
stay
布的消息一
as
出
the
来，迪士尼股
CEO
票跌了3%。
and only like February of this year he finally was able to retire but right after he retired the stock price of Disney dropped 3% but then in April he was called back because of the pandemic and every industry they have challenges and now they call him back because they also have so many challenges. Robert Iger is an employee. Could you is an employee? Could you tell everyone what his income is? In 2019, his annual income is $48 million. $48 million, annual income. I said, my God, oh my God, 48 million per year. It's that high. Joy said, if I can have like 80,000 per year, I would be overjoyed already. Yeah, his annual income is that high. Well, even, those owners of the company, they are not very silly. They don't want to pay too much to one person just because he can create so much more for them. And the bigger, I have another, Grandmaster said, I have another word to tell you. The bigger the vessel is, the harder for the ship to turn. And so the bigger the company is, the harder for the company to reform. Or say someone who sells vegetables. It's very small numbers, but for a bigger companies, it's hard to manage. Sometimes you will see, every day you will see that your everyday use is the products are from that company, but they actually probably don't make much profit from those products. Actually, in many companies, a lot of the employees in some state-owned companies, maybe there are 100,000 people, maybe half of them are actually not creating any profit or any value for the company. I mentioned that for a restaurant owner, maybe the owner would have to get up very early to buy the supplies. So what if why he should get up so early? Maybe he can hire someone, but maybe you only need $100 to buy the supplies, but if you hire someone, you might have to pay $120. But some people is just lazy, so have to hire someone. In some restaurants, some employees, if they're not integrated, then it's a problem. Maybe you are asked, why, Grandmaster, you mentioned some people are not, why you mentioned the dark part of some people? Well, I've heard so many things about restaurants. They sometimes will lose materials, and just by losing those, supplies or materials, the whole restaurant can even go bankruptcy. When I was little, I couldn't even have enough food to eat. And one of my neighbor was a chef in a restaurant, and his child, at that time when we don't even have the simplest food to eat, he was able to eat, his child was able to eat abalone. And so, but this chef, his salary cannot even afford to buy one abalone, but he has a whole box of abalone there at home. And so where did he get that from? So I'm just mentioning this is just a small restaurant. What about you have 100 branches or subsidiaries? After a year, if you do not lose money, it's already very, very good. So when you have big companies, after a year, if your profit is 10%, is already like overjoyed. For a small company, if you think that your profit rate is like, you got like 1,000 times of profit, it's very simple, especially for those only sell vegetables. Bigger companies, it's very hard to manage all these hearts. It's actually, there's no way to manage every heart. Even the owner of the company is very nice, but what about the employees? employees, would every single employee be all integrated? Well, a few people might be quite nice or virtuous, but there will still be a lot of people not so virtuous. So everybody want to do bigger business. I heard many entrepreneurs say, oh, they say, if I had known earlier, if it make bigger, it would be so much suffering, then I would never want to do it. And so ever since they put their company on the stock market, so this owner of the company almost feels like their body is tortured every single day by many different departments. And so and sometimes people do that because they've never heard about it. They just heard that, oh, this might be better. And then they actually was caught in the trap. So I'll let you know, it's not easy. But starting a business, well, whether you are an employee or an employer, everybody has opportunities. But I'd like you to know in advance that whether you choose employment or entrepreneur, which is more risky? Of course, starting a business is more risky. Is like you might encounter huge risk. But whether you start business or find employment, there are 6 industries you should never touch. So prostitution, gambling, drugs, scamming, alcohol, and killing. So whatever is not virtuous, never touch it. So prostitution, those things, once you get involved in it, then you will completely lose your virtue. And that's why there are some politicians or some people at high positions or even some monks, if they have been involved in prostitution, they would never be able to regain their fame back, their name back. Gambling also causes many families to lose everything. I think when people completely lose all of their assets, like 1/3 of them would be caused by gambling. It's like you lose everything. Nobody would even love you or care about you. People who gamble usually would think that they are very smart. And they think that just play some cards, or sometimes they would study how to read those cards, how to read mahjong. But, even if you know some of the tricks, the casino would know even more. You will never win over a casino. And sometimes casino will put you on the blacklist, and they will put your picture over there. And whenever you come, so they will not let you in, because if you always win, then they will not allow you to come in. They only allow people who will always lose to go in. And so do not cheat. Those industry that involves cheating or scamming, never touch it. Nowadays, there are many industries that have something to do with cheating or scamming. Actually, nowadays, even it's hard to really legally say that they are illegal. It doesn't seem to be clearly illegal, but sometimes you have gambling, online gambling, or online something they investing. Well, you ask people to invest, but how can you get the return? So be careful. If you're clear-minded, then do not involve in these 6 industries, and do not And some people would say, you don't take drugs, you don't sell drugs, but can you manufacture drugs? Of course not. Sometimes when they manufacture those, they would say, oh, this is legal. The government never said it's illegal. Well, the U.S. government, marijuana is legal in many states. Well, actually, I don't agree. And in Canada, there are some provinces, they allow marijuana to be legal. But even if it is very light drugs, but they are still drugs, it's not good for health. And any industry that relates to killing, we should never touch. And so when you're choosing industries or fields, you need to carefully choose. A lot of people would think, oh, I don't care, I just make money. Maybe at the beginning, because of poverty, when you feel hard to survive, then you have that mindset that you have you don't have much to choose. But I can understand it, but in the future you would regret. Yeah, what if you make some money at the beginning and then you lose everything? What if you made some money but then you'll be killed? So why should you do that? Do you just want to make money and then want to cause the result of being killed? No. Or do you want to cause these very, unsafe life? I recommend you to choose those safer industries. Don't only think about making money. At least do not have anything to, do not choose any industry that involves hurting others or and eventually will hurt yourself. So in today's world, starting business, if we go back 30 years, at that time in China, starting a business, we have much more opportunities now in Taiwan. So our Taiwan friends who are here, I'd like to ask you, you can nod or shake your head. Well, 30 years ago, establishing a new business, was it easier than today? Oh, okay. In Taiwan, it's the same. In the United States, it's the same. Now there are fewer and fewer small stores because they are all purchased by bigger companies. And if you go around and you only see bigger brands, but in China, in Asia, I actually see more brands because there are smaller countries or smaller stores hasn't been purchased. So yeah, so some they have their products, they have their own names and brands. And so in the stores, we have expensive products, maybe from Europe, from States, from Japan. But if they want to buy cheaper products, maybe from Cambodia, from and some people in India, they want to wear Japanese food or maybe Japanese clothes or Indian clothes. So they have all kinds of products from many different countries. So it's they have much more varieties. Now it's harder to start business than 30 years ago. But are we still able to start business? Joyce would think it's harder, but it doesn't mean that it's not possible. You just there are still opportunities, Grandmaster says, but in any industry, you need to be like a spy and, enter the industry to observe and to understand it. It's just like like doctors, they need to test their pulse. So now we have those doctors for enterprises. They go to the company and then they investigate and observe and find the problems. And so for my level, if I go to an enterprise and if I just need 1 month, I'll be able to find the problem. If I open a business, I will know. I can give you suggestions of how to start with, and you need some management experience and you need to have good observation skills. Today in Taiwan, if you want to start some business in like a restaurant, there are some ways to make money, but if you don't want to do that or you don't dare to do that. But some people also, they have good plans, but then when they actually put into action, they change. They actually have already had good regulations for the restaurant, but because when they actually have the restaurant, because of the pressure, economic pressure, you already thought that in one bowl you would put this much noodle. It should be 2, say, kilograms, and then put 4 pieces of meat. But then you reduce only half the amount to give people, so people will not come and buy the noodles, and so you have to lose business. And if there's nobody coming here, then you don't have any business. So then you dismiss people. You dismiss some chefs, you dismiss some waiters, and then you see, oh no, the restaurant is not clean enough then, and the food is not good enough then, and so the hygiene is not good. And so when we are actually running the business, some people, they thought pretty well, but then they didn't have the fortitude, so they changed the quantity of the product that they are supposed to provide, but then that will reduce the business for them. And only those who go through the most difficult times, and even they're losing money, they will still give a sufficient amount, and those people might eventually succeed. And a lot of times because of the economic pressure, they didn't do what they had planned to do. Those people who open a restaurant, it's not that they are not smart, they don't know that they should give more. It's just when they're doing it, they haven't persisted to their, they haven't adhered to their rules. It's not very, maybe it's not easy to be extremely wealthy, but at least just to make a living for you, it would be fine to open a business. Just remember to give the benefit always to your clients and give all the difficulties to yourself. So when everybody feels like, oh, this is, they all feel that this is very good, then you have lots of clients. And so, we have an ancient story. There was one day, there's a farmer was doing the farming, and then all of a sudden there was a rabbit. Pronunciation joke, but anyways. So the rabbit suddenly bumped into the tree and fainted. And so that farmer came over and got the rabbit. And so ever since then, he stopped farming and he only waited under the tree and waiting for another rabbit to come over and bump into the tree. So he only put that low possibility into like a regular routine for him. So that is not the right mindset. You always wanted to take advantage of some easy things. And you think that, oh, this is the way to do business. But actually, the doing business is the right way is a way of compassion. Well, business person might laugh at me. In Buddhism, we say to help all sentient beings, to help everybody. So the product, you should be an attractive product, and the price, it should be attractive. And if you are in this situation, at least you can make a living. Not necessarily you make big money, but at least you can make a living. And you know, in China, when those old ladies go and buy vegetables, if they want to buy 5 kilograms of vegetables, and those old ladies always say, well, okay, this is 5 kilograms, but give me more, maybe green onion, and maybe just for free. And so very smart sellers would say, oh, yeah, okay, sure, I've already prepared that for you. Those people just want to... Yeah, some sellers, because they give more, so these ladies always come to their booths to buy vegetables. But another seller, say for example, he would never give any bonus vegetables, so he only, you know, that's fixed price, you can never bargain. So Buddha never said that you should always be like fixed price. You should be a compassionate person. It's not that you need to only, you know, keep your promise of the price. You should be a compassionate person so that if they want, then you give. And so that is what we say, a wise person sometimes will act like a foolish person, but that's true wisdom. And so then you make your business much easier. But a lot of owners or a lot of employers, they cannot do that. They understand this rule, but they just don't want to do it. They say, oh, you see, I have to buy those green onions too. I have to buy those gingers too. You want a bonus green onion. And so if you think that it's too much, and if you're always hesitating in giving more, you can have tons of reasons of not giving more, but yeah, but then you will lose a lot of business. So actually Buddha Shakyamuni taught us the way of doing business. He always say, the more you give, the more you get. And only when you dare to give, and then other people would dare to give you too. And so Joyce said, oh, she wants to share another business. So a story about the most wealthy person in Germany. Who is the most wealthy person? He's not the owner of BMW or Mercedes-Benz. It's actually, he's the owner of a supermarket, a low-cost supermarket, IDA. And so it's a brothers. It's the supermarket all has very low prices, and it's after the Second World War they established this supermarket because the economy after the World War was not very good, and so they had low prices, but they keep the low price for many years, and so very famous. And wherever we go in North America or Asia, we have those points cards, but then they would usually say only until the end of the year you can use the points. But in that IDA supermarket, whenever you get enough points, you can redeem the points, and you can use the points to pay for your groceries. You don't have to wait until the end of the year. So they always think about the customer's benefit as the first priority. And also, they promise low price. Say, for example, one product, they already reduced the price, even though the product, they haven't arrived to the store yet. Maybe today they have reduced price, but they purchased the product a day before and it wasn't at a reduced price. But today they will still reduce the price for that product. And secondly, of course, they would always guarantee the quality of the product, because if it is of inferior quality, customers will not come. And that ALDI, they only have 650 kinds of product, and they have very good service. If you come and use your credit card to buy. And a lot of times they remember the price. Say, for example, sometimes, they see one vegetable, they don't know what vegetable it is, and they have to check on the list what product this is. But in that supermarket, they always recognize every product. And also, the management in that supermarket is very good. They have very clear reward system and punishment, and they're very strict. But then so the employees, their income is directly related to the the profit of the whole supermarket. And so everybody working there work very happily, and they go and work towards the same direction. And so they are very honest, and they keep their reputation, and then they also believe more giving and more gaining. And one day, the owner of that company, he was kidnapped, and because he was wearing very, low-key, he was very low-key and wear very, low-cost clothes, and even those people who kidnapped him didn't believe that he was the owner of that supermarket. I heard that this supermarket now already started to expand to the United States. I'm hoping that they will expand to more markets. Yeah, so this is an example that matches what Master's teaching.
In Germany and in Japan, there are many century-old businesses. Many businesses have been running for more than 100 years. And also the same for the employee. For example, I heard that in the BMW company, the employee is less than 60 years old, but they've been working at the company for over 40 years. They started working there since they're 18 years old. I heard that the BMW company is also over 100 years old. BMW company is 107 years old. In Germany, there's another company, Merck Pharmaceuticals, is 350 years old. This is an international company. It's been passed down for 3 or 4 generations. Many of the German companies are family-owned. For example, ALDI, BMW, Benz, and also Merck and Braun. These are all family-owned businesses. Stanway Pianos is 167 years old. And do you know Z's lenses? Zen's company is 174 years old. And Bosch is 134 years old. Nivea Cosmetics is 109 years old. Nivea is cosmetics, and their design hasn't been changed for many years. I like another product from Germany. It's a vacuum. I've bought vacuum from many different brands, and also I just use it casually at home. Maybe it's carpet or something. And at least 2 times I saw some vacuum starts to smoke. And the vacuum store that I went to has 5 different brands. And when I went back, I was very angry. I only got the vacuum for half a year and it's starting to smoke. So I asked him if he has a better brand that has a longer life. And then he told me to buy this Mila. He told me that you can use Mila to even vacuum animal hair. I didn't have a dog at the time, but I thought that I could vacuum my own hair. After I purchased this Mila, I've been using it for a long time, and it's not broken even until now, and it doesn't take up a lot of space too. And it has a lot of accessories that I can use to vacuum very small spaces. Even use it to vacuum laptops and my bed. You can use it to vacuum very small, very tight spaces. So it's very applicable, and when you hold it in your hand, it feels very nice too. And these companies didn't give me any advertisement pay. It's just that these companies, they're good companies, and their products have very good performance. At our center, at our meditation center, they bought a very small vacuum, and it's clear. There's no vacuum bag, so you can watch. You can see it being vacuumed. And I used it for a few times, and it's broken. And when I tried to take the canister out, it's broken. And the hinge was very thin and very small, and it was just broken. It looked nice, but it was broken right away. German products are very good in general. Sometimes you just have to, it's proven by your own experience. Their products are really good. And in the end, most people want to buy a product that can last a long time. So German companies that are more than 70 years old and family business probably is 85%, more than 85% of all German companies. In Europe, it's amazing how German companies can run in the family for so many years. The top 100 family businesses in Germany, the average age of the company is 90 years old. So these are all century-old businesses. How did they do it? It's so difficult. Usually we say that it's difficult to pass on your wealth for more than 3 generations. Sometimes even the 2nd generation doesn't want to run a family business. I feel that it might come from their education and their culture. Many people make mistakes because they don't understand. If they understood it, there is a very small chance of making a mistake. So I think the culture and education is the most important. And also the understanding and how serious they are about their artisanship is very important. In the German culture, they also promote this family business. For a long time, I think Germany has many geniuses and many creative people. There are many good, they are very serious, very strict, they are very loyal. And these are qualities that we should learn. And even the Germany government promotes family businesses. For example, if you pass on the business in your family, there is actually no inheritance tax. Yearly, the inheritance tax is about 70%. So the country actually uses these tax measures to promote family inheritance to pass a business down. And also, each individual, they value loyalty. And even as an employee, they're loyal to their company. So in their daily life, in their family, in their studies, they probably cultivate a state of mind that they promote. They promote compassion, loyalty, meticulous work, and also trust. For example, if a German worker needs to tighten a screw 5 rounds, they wouldn't tighten it for 4 rounds. At least this type of value is we need to learn it. Sometimes as a Chinese, when your boss is not looking at you, you might slack off. And plus it's mass production. Why do I have to tighten the screw for 5 rounds? Can I do it just 3.5 rounds or 4 rounds? If your boss is not keeping an eye on you, maybe you want to save some labor. But it will damage the company. If everybody does it, it will damage the company. For example, many people, when they buy a vehicle or many consumer products, they don't have many choices left. For example, previously my razor is actually from a Japanese brand, and I've also used Philips. But I'm used to use razors. I'm not used to razors that have 3 different razor heads. And in the end, I still want to choose a product that is easy to use. And then I went back to Braun. That is also a German brand, and this company is 99 years old. Can you bring out my razor? Braun has many good consumer products like fans or toothbrushes. I also want to buy an electronic toothbrush from them too. And so it's very. This is Braun's razor. It's very simple to use, and it lasts a long time. And it's very easy to, and each charge lasts a long time. good Japanese, there are many good Japanese brands too, but sometimes they break easily. German consumer products doesn't break easily. I've been using it for over 2.5 years. It's still working. Why do I think that way? Because I have used Japanese brands. And when you're not planning for it, it breaks within 3 months or 6 months. And afterward, if you want to buy the parts to replace it, it costs almost half of the razor's price. Usually, when you buy the brown product, usually it's more expensive at the beginning, but it doesn't break. Then you earn your money back, right? I'm not trying to say bad words about the Japanese brand. They have many good products too, but sometimes they don't produce their own products, and so the products doesn't last as long. I remember the most frequent time I brought 2 razors in 1 year. It's broken. What else can I do? The marketing is very nice, but when you buy it, it's not like that. So this is a very simple consumer product. If they have built it very good, that means that they were very serious about it. So they're family businesses. There is inheritance and there's culture. No matter what product it is, whether it's a traditional product or a modern high-tech product, they are always very serious about it. Only then are they able to produce the product in a very good quality. So this culture is suitable for an entrepreneur and for an employee. Only with such a mindset can we do our jobs right. If you are a waiter in a restaurant, sometimes the waiter's attitude will affect the customers. Their attitude, their behavior, their tone will affect whether you will come back to eat or not. Some restaurants, they don't want people to come back to eat. Sometimes they feel, they show that I'm just a gangster. Then do you dare to go there again? Some salesperson say that if they sell high-end products, they will look at you, they will scan you from head to toe. Even before you come into the high-end store, they will scan you and try to figure out whether you have money or not. And when they feel that you don't have money, they'll be very cold. But when they realize that you have the money to purchase, they will change instantly. Usually in Taiwan, the services are very good. Sometimes if you go to a restaurant to eat, it feels like you owe debt to the customer, to the restaurant owner. You don't dare to go to that restaurant again. In Singapore, these restaurant services are horrible. Because usually the waiters in the Singapore restaurant, they're not local Singaporeans, they're foreign workers. They're just trying to find a job. And sometimes maybe there is a Singaporean that is serving you. Why? Because these are elders, seniors who are over 70 years old. They don't have any money. So they have to make a living by working in the restaurant. How could they smile? When they have back pain, when they should be taking a walk in the park, they're trying to make a living. How could they be happy? And with the foreign workers working in the restaurant, they're just trying to serve.
不管卖啥，是卖咸鸡蛋都要说开连锁店，都是，就是这样子的。
Singapore has many chain stores.
文化越高的地方越开连锁店，开连锁店你顾不上啊。
But when they have the chain store, they don't have the time to manage each store. For example, back in the Three Kingdom period, when Liu Bei had a long line up of soldiers, he failed. When you don't have such an ability, but you have so many stores, maybe you will fail too. So I want to remind our young friends, whether you're an employee or an entrepreneur, we need to be hardworking. We need to like our job because we are paid. We have to be grateful. And also learn loyalty, learn to be grounded. When your boss asks you to tighten the screw for 5 rounds, you have to do it for 5 rounds. Only when the company is doing well, then you will be paid. If everyone does something wrong, then the product will be bad, and you might lose your job. And also in Buddha's term, you have made bad karma, and you might not. It creates bad habits, and you might not find a good job later too. I have a story about bad habits. There is a young man. He is an apprentice, and he's learning to do haircuts. And when he's learning, he cannot do the haircut on a real person. So he uses it. So he practices on a gourd. So he uses a razor and practice on the gourd. And because he is an apprentice, when he's called by his teacher, when they ask him to do something, he would stab the razor into the gourd and then run to do the favor. And one day, the store was very busy, so the apprentice was doing the hair for a customer. And because of his bad habit, when he was called to do something else, he stabbed the razor into that customer's head too. This is a very bad habit. Say that if it's a vehicle, every screw needs to be tightened 5 rounds. But when you tighten the screw, you only did it for 4 rounds. The vehicle is supposed to last for 10 years. But because you didn't tighten the screw 5 rounds, the screws all become very loose. And maybe when it's running on the road, it would lose the tires, it would lose the roof. Some vehicles doesn't have a good sale because the manufacturing was not very good. But if you look at German cars, they have better sales. And then in the end, people say that although when I buy it, initially it's expensive, but at least I can use it for a very long time. A good vehicle can still run on the road after 70 years. But a bad vehicle, I've seen one in Canada. I'm not going to tell you what brand it is. It was a brand new vehicle. On the way of driving it home, the door handle broke off. And when I went back to the factory, they told me that that's just how it is. And they just tightened the screw for me. When I went back to them, they were ready. They know that this is going to happen, so they just need to tighten the screws. And after 2 more days, the tires almost flew off. And so then I was ready, so I pounded the car and saw the screw actually flew off.
买卖双方的关系，因为车总是坏，你总是找我们。我说还要有脸这么说。
The car salesperson told me that it's actually good because it promotes our sales and customer relationships, right? And the salesperson told me that he doesn't drive that brand car, so he drives another branded car. The sales say that it's very shameful because whoever buys a car and when there's a problem, they will always come back to find the salesperson, right? So in our job, we need to choose to have good habits, have loyalty, love what you do. When you are working for your boss, we need to have very good habits and very rigorous work. Only then maybe one day we can be successful. We talked about the employees who earned a very high annual salary, right? When real talent will shine sooner or later, right? And also today we're talking about whatever you do, learn at the same time. And also build a good habit. What are some of the good habits?
你刚才说的时候，我就听着我就写哈。刚才我也讲到叫舍得，如果你是买卖的舍得，如果是你是打工的呢，你要舍得下力气，舍得让自己更忠诚，舍得自己坚持自己的这个正确本分的理念，这都是舍得。这最终你会得的更多。虽然你舍得多，但是最终你得的多。
You're generous with your time, with your hard work, with your diligence.
低价。
And
第三是勤奋。
Third
第四是
is diligence. Fourth is have good
就是你
observational
要找到商业
skills.
机会，或者你找到创新机会，
You need to
都是
find
观察出来的。
opportunities of
用好自己的
creativity.
眼
Use
耳
your
鼻舌身意。
observation skills. Use your eyes
还有
and
创
ears.
新。
And also be
在最
creative.
先进、最快速发达的人和公司哈，都是来自于那个比较创新的这种技术性企业。
The highly
是吧？
developing
你
companies
从这个你
are
看台湾
really
的
very
郭台铭
creative.
先生啊，
For example,
到这个刚才
Mr.
讲的
Guo
这个
from
张
Taiwan
东谋先生，
and
再到
Morris
北美的
Chang
这几个
and
这个
also
大户哈，哎，
some
都是他做最先
large
进的这个
companies
企业
in
发
the
达起来的，
Americas,
是
they
吧？
all
对，所以要有这个创新精神，
they all have
观
very
察的这个
creative
能力。你
companies.
才
So
可
you
能
need to
能
have
够
the
成功哈。
observational
但是对于
skills
个人
and
能力
help
当
you
中，
to become
还有一个最
successful.
基本的能力，
And
就
also
是
there's
勤奋。
another basic skill,
你看
and that
这
is to be
个
diligent.
美国刚才你讲的这个迪士尼这位
We talked
新的
about
这个老总啊 CEO，
Disney's
他是早
CEO
晨4点来钟
Iger,
起
right?
床的，
He wakes up every day at
那一般的
4:30
美
in the
国人呢，
morning. What about the
都想着睡到
average
自然醒，
American?
是吧？
They
啊
might
就
sleep
是这样的，我也
until
讲究放松
when
啊，
they
自在啊
naturally wake up, right?
就
They
是当
will
你的
just
生活
want to
太安逸了，
relax.
太自在了，
When your
其实
life
接
is
下来
very
就让你
relaxed,
永远不自在。
maybe you will not be relaxed
知道
for
吗？
the rest of your
你的
life.
行为上一旦太自在了，接下
When
来
your
让你事
actions
事不
are
顺心
too
不自在。
relaxed, everything
就是
else
没
will
钱
not
花，
be relaxed.
没房
For
住，
example, you don't
没
have
人
any
疼，没
money to
人爱，没
spend,
人
you don't
管，
have
没
a
人理，
place to live,
就失去了一切
nobody
管理，
cares
是
about
吧？
you.
当你被人管理的时候，你在
When
家
you
里
are
被人
being
管理，说
managed
明
by other
有夫
people
妻在
at
管你，
home,
或者有子女在管你，有
that
父母
means
亲在
that you
管你。
have your
有人
spouse,
管理你，说
your
明有人爱你。
children, or
至
your
少你有
parents,
房
right?
住
And
啊，你有
when
遗
you're
产，
being
你有
managed, that
饭
means
吃，
that somebody
你有
loves
学
you,
业，
right?
你有
You
工
have
作。
a place to live,
所以我
you
们追求
have
那个绝对自由
food,
的
you
时
have
候，
money.
绝对自由
When you look
就
for
叫自然，我
absolute
不受人
freedom,
管，你凭什
you
么说
don't
我？
want to be managed
所
by
以在企
anyone,
业之
right?
中，有很多的员工就是说，我
Many
总是受气，别人
employees
总是说我，
always
你给人
feels
打
that
工还
they're
不让人说
being
吗？
taught or
你吃人
scolded
家
by
的饭，
other people.
就得照
You're
人家
just
说
an
的干，
employee.
对吧？
You're
别给
being
人干这
paid
个
to
活
do
才
your
可以，
job. You have
也
to
不
do
要
your
怕
job
人说，
right. And
是
don't
吧？
be
所
afraid
以
of
呢，要谦卑
being
啊，
taught what to
再
do.
加一条要
So
谦
be
卑。
humble.
还要勤奋啊。
and be
所以勤
diligent.
奋是所有的行业当中成功的必
Diligence
然必
is
须的
the
一个
absolute
重要的一个素质和内容。
factor.
所以这个
of
习惯
all
一定要
success.
养下来。
You have to have
吧
a good habit
那
of
你说你的公
diligence.
司，说这个人我特别爱我的
Say
公
that in
司，
your company,
我特别爱我
I
的家
really
庭，
love
是吧？
my
孩子
family.
要上学，你不来
My
做早餐，
child needs to
对不
go
对？就
to
接送孩
school,
子找不到你，你爱这个家吗？
and you
对不
want to
对？
make
该干活的时候找
breakfast
不到
for
人，
your child.
你爱这个企业吗？
Do you love
所以
your
很多人
child?
说啊，
When
这个
there's
老板
work
我
to
很
do
忠
at
诚啊，
the
很忠
company, do
诚，
you love
上午
your,
总找不到
but I
人，
cannot find you.
到
Do
下
you
午看
love your
风水
company?
啊，好坏天气好
Say
坏
that
才能找得到人，
When you
这
need
些
to
都
go
是
to
骗子。
work, we can even find you in the
这些人我
morning.
都遇到过，但是
Do
他
you
跟
love
你
your company?
甜言蜜语的时候，
These
你
are
就觉得
all
哇，这人好
cheaters.
贴心的，
I've
实际上都是
had
骗子。
such employees before.
所以我们自己要学会的啊，
So
再
we
重复一
need to
遍，
learn.
要舍得、
We need to learn to be
低价、
generous,
勤奋、
to be
善
humble,
观察。
to be diligent,
心、
to have
谦卑。
observation skills
啊
and
如果再加一条
creativity.
就是认真，
And if there's one more thing, and then that is to be
再加一条认真了
meticulous,
哈，就是7条了。
and
就是
also
无
to
论创
have
业还
a
是就业，这些素质
low
必不可少，
price.
才能
绝
够
对不可
Whether
少。
you
对，
啊
are
因
an
为很多
employee
人，比
or
如说
an
在工作中，
entrepreneur, you
因为
need
你
these
是就业嘛，
skills.
嗯
你仅仅是打
You
工而
need
已，
these
说我干嘛那么认真
characteristics.
嗯，
啊？不是我的事，我不要
Say
去
that
管
if
它。
you
就是朋友
are
们，你还
just
想
an
提升吗？
employee, somebody might
所
say
以我
that
们
why
如
do
果
I
再有
need these
下一讲的
skills?
话，
Do you
那
want
就是
to
说，
have
你以为你
a
就业之
higher
后就是一
career
劳永逸吗？
position?
哎呀，很多人都问这个问题，说那
Do
我
we
不创业，
need
创业风
That
险高，
next
我就业，
episode?
就业
就业
的
Some
就
people
一劳
will
永
say
逸。
对
that
他追求一劳永逸，
do I
尤其是
just
找到
find
什么
one
大
job
公司，
and that
什么
will
世
make
界
the
500
happy
强
ending?
对
本国
If
家
I
前
just
50
find
强，
a big
甚至是打的
company,
是政府工，
the
最
top
后端到了金饭碗，
500
哎
company, would
这
that
都
be
是
the happy
看
ending?
幻想，
What if I'm a
甚至叫
civil
痴心妄
servant?
想，
Would that be in a
一定
happy
是大
ending?
错特错。
No, these are just
就如果
dreams.
没有一个，尤其是在当今这个时代
In
哈，
the modern
如果没有一个
world,
随时学习边做
if
边
you
学的
don't
这个
have
理念
the
哈，
attitude
没有一
of
种随时
learning,
面对更新和
if you
被代
don't
替的
have
这个
the
这样一个
attitude
心
to
理准备的
update
话，
yourself,
你必死无疑，
then you
根
might
本就没
die.
活路。
There's no way
知道
out
吗？
for you.
就是我说的这个概念，大到企业，大到国家，
This concept that I'm
国
talking
家
about
和大企业
applies
都
for a
要随时
company,
更新自己才可
applies
以。
for a
那你作为
nation.
员工呢？
更要
Even a
更是如
nation
此。
needs to update themselves. But
那个
what
我
about
记
you
得前
as
两
an
天我们查
employee?
到了
You
这
need to.
个台湾
A few
南
days
部哪个
ago,
城市
we looked at
有一个
a city,
有一个
right?
市政府
高
一个招一个
那个
员工嘛，
招
In
那
Kao-
个
in
市政府
Kaohsiung
招那个
City of
清洁
Taiwan,
队，
清洁队
the
当中，
高
city
雄市清洁
is
队，
那就是太
hiring
普通，
for the cleaning
在市
squadron.
政府当中招聘最普通一个职位
This，is
看看怎么样？
A
录取
very
率哈，
ordinary
先说哈，1200 人排队报
in
名，
the
哦
city.
录取率
There
不
are
到1%。
1,200 people that was lining up to apply
录
for
取
it.
率这么
and
一个
only
职位有
one-
这么多人来应聘，
对，
几乎是工作之中最普
12,000
通的
people
工
want
作。
to
多
apply,
难
but
呐！现
only
在就业啊
1% was
再讲，
hired.
比如说中
按比例是多少？1%吧，
1%，
Less
1%。
than 1% was
我
hired.
提醒大家哈，
Let me
不出
remind
10
you,
年，我们每
within
一个
10
职位
years,
来竞争的人员，一个职位1万个人来竞。
each
对
position
呀，
might
就
be
说现在就是中国考公务
competed
员嘛，大
between
家都想考公务
10,000
员，铁
people.
饭碗啊，
In
一劳永
China,
逸，
many
金
people
饭碗
wants to
对，一
become
劳
a
永逸
public
金饭碗
servant.
对，
啊，那不好考呀。就
It's
这些
very
年来，
difficult
基
to
本上
become
就
a
是
public
高的
servant
高不过
in
6%录
in
取率，
China.
低的就2点
Only
几。
yearly
的
there's
录取
only
率。
2%
台湾
to
呢，我们也查了一
6%
下，一样，
acceptance rate.
叫他
And
们
it's
叫
almost the
事业单
same
位，叫什么
in
事业
Taiwan.
单事业，就反正那意思就是公务员啦，就政府的工作，对，
So
3.46%，
only
2019年的录取率。
3.46%
那
of the
2019
applicants
年
was
同年呢，
accepted in
哈佛大学是
2019.
历年以来
But
录
in
取率最
Harvard,
低的
Harvard
4.5%，
University
以
has
前都
the
10%
lowest
左右呢。
acceptance rate in
你就考个公
2019,
务
and
员
that's
比考哈佛还难。
4.5%.
哦，
So being a silver
怪不得。
public servant
很多
is
网友
even
给我
more
留言，
difficult than
尤
getting
其是
into
考公务
Harvard
员，
University.
赶快忽悠他
都
考
提醒师傅
上公务员。
加持，对。
People
因为
who
我
wants
没
to
打过工
become
啊，
a
不知道
public
怎么这么
servant
认真呢。
will
真
even
难
come to
真
ask
难
for
啊
master's
所以
blessings.
现在
It's
呢，
very difficult to
接下
become
来
a
的世界
public
上
servant
最难
now.
的事情就是打
Then
工，就是就
in
业，
the next
非
few
常难。
years,
因为
finding
到了这个
a
这个
job
现在是
will be
网络
very
化技术，
difficult.
对不对？
everything is online right now. But later on, there will be even newer technologies. For example, artificial intelligence. Maybe everything will be operated by computers, and there will be autonomous cars. It sounds very advanced, right? These are just ordinary things in a few years. In the beginning, electronic cars are like a myth. But now, electronic cars are running everywhere. Even in Taiwan, over 33% of the motorbikes are electronic. And they're very quiet on the road.
对，所以到了这个 AI 技术就是超智商型的智能型这种电脑出现之后，它会用在很多方面，一个是交通工具上头，还有去制作之中。我们之前不是讲过这个刀削面机器人，对不对？那都是低级的了。将来就是炒菜机器人，它也可以做成一个人体的样子，也可能不是个人体啊。你就看到厨房里头有很多电动手，自动手，把那个就炒，它模仿人炒，保证都是特级厨师的品味，因为它严格按照那个制作炒菜程序来的，都是找到最好的厨师那个配方，对不对？机器人又不会偷懒，又不闹情绪，又不闹更年期，对不对？你说人呢？我们都和女弟子在一起，就怕她更年期。啊，你看又发火了，怎么回事？更年期来了。
When people are at menopause, it's very difficult to control their emotions. And people at puberty are very emotional too,
那个老板们买机器来就是避免更年期的情况，对不对？而且速度很快。对，我们炒一个菜5分钟，人家5秒钟就炒出来。
They are able to cook a dish in 5 seconds and 5 minutes.
所以很多的机器人不一定是人的形状哈，
So many robots may not be
所以
in the
那个自动驾驶汽车，
shape
你
or
看不到一个人
physique
在
as a
开车，
human
实际上
being,
里头有
but
个
they
电
will
脑给你
replace
开车，
human
它并
jobs.
没有一个人在那。
Even
所以未来我
automatic
说汽車椅
cars,
子改变了，
you don't see
对，就不用
a
一定
robot
是可以
driving,
坐，
but they
可以
can
躺，
the car
是
can
吧？可以
move
倒
by
立
its
什么
own.
都可以，甚至喜欢洗澡的就直接坐在里头就是个浴缸。对，所以这个世界到了一个快速
The
发展与
world
更新
is
的
at the
时期，
time of
所以我们不要以为说
fast
今天你找到了一个大
updates
企业，甚至是政府什么
Don't
机构当中，
feel
就
that
是金饭
when
碗不
you
会坏
find
嘛。
a public
全
servant
部会
job
打
or
破，
you find a job at a large
因为在
company,
很多的国家
that
政
you
府
will
当中
have
哈，很
a
多说
lifelong
我
job.
招的这些人工资很高，可是我的税
Sometimes
收很低，我这个国家盈利太少，一样破产。大家记得有
Some
个冰岛嘛，
countries
是吧？
remember
冰岛
a
前的生活
country
破产
called
了，
Iceland?
很多人去收购它
The
呀，对不
entire
对？
nation
所以
is
这多
broke.
麻烦了。对，所以的话，将来的政府也好，
So
大企
in
业
the
也好，
future, whether
其实
it's
越大企业
government
管
or
理会越
companies,
严。当然，
they
你的
will
能力
be more strict
越
at
差，
operations.
你又不努力
When you
工作
don't，have good
你
abilities and
就
you
被炒
don't
鱿鱼的
work
这个机
hard,
会就越高。
there are a
所以
higher risk
我
of you
传给
getting
大家的希
fired.
望说，你尽量不失
So
业，
what I'm
而且还能
teaching
得到
you
不断的提升和
is
赏
hoping
识，
you that not
这样
only you don't
我觉
lose
得
your
才是
job,
最好的。
but you will be promoted.
好，今天给大家讲的也够
All right,
多的了哈。
that's a lot
对。
师傅
for
我
today.
等一下下，那个网友有
Master,
几个小小问
I
题哈
have，
帮
a
个
few
忙。
small questions
一个
from
是
our
师傅
friends
以前介
online.
绍就是走八卦
Master
很好
talked
穿的那个
about
鞋子，
shoes
质量很好的哈。
也是
that are
MERRELL，
good
MERRELL， 我
to
们那个
MERRELL，
屏幕上打出来
that，are good
中
for
文好
walking
像是叫
Energy
麦乐，
Bagua.
迈
Could
开
you
大步
show
的迈，
what
然后快乐的
the
乐。
brand
但是你
is?
最好还是把那英
打
文字
出来，
记住，
然后 M 打头的。
我
It's
都
a-
怕你买错
It's a
东西。
brand
对
that
对对，
starts
我们
with
打出来，然后
M.
网友你
Can we
截
show
个
some
屏啊
pictures?
，copy 一下，
It's
去找这
called
个鞋子。还
MERRELL
有网友问说，还有网友发
Another
现今天
friend-
这个师傅背后这个背景特别的美
Another，friend
印象
is
东方啊。
commenting
这
on
是
the
大号
picture behind
大
号的印
Master's
象东方。
这个我们慈悲音上
behind
也是可以
Master,
定的啊，
this
大号的。如果你家里
painting is
家里啊，
called
或者是公司
Vision
啊，
of the
还是你这个
Eastern
行号啊，
of the
适
East.
适合的
你
话，
轻易
And
不要
this
嫌
is a
挂，因为太气
very
派了。
large size
真的。
and
它也
it's
不花俏
suitable
单色，但
for
是
large homes and company.
然后还有网友问的就是昨天我们这个杂货铺
And
开
another
张的过程
friend
之中啊，师傅都有
asked
加
about
盖
yesterday's
印那个
live
葫芦宝
session
瓶，说今天
that
还有
there
吗？还有
was
请。
再加盖40个。
vases
感恩师傅，
with
感恩师傅，
master's
那我们网友都有
seal.
福了。
Are there more available?
好了。
Yes,
我
there
顺
will
便
be.
解
There
释
will
那
be
个鞋子
40
哈
more. Let
哎
me tell you about
什么
these
MERRELL
shoes.
那个鞋子哈，
The
其实它
the
里头有
MERRELL
很多
shoes.
品种
There are different types
啊，比
of
如说有这种
MERRELL
登山类
shoes.
呀，
There are
还有
ones
河
for
滩专
hiking.
用，那绝
There are
对防
ones
滑
for
的哈，
walking
但是鞋底会薄，
near the
它分
riverbank.
很多种功能的
There
鞋
are
子。
many
那么
different
你要选
functional shoes.
适合于
You
你
need to
此时此
choose
刻的这个环境、
the
这个天气
shoes
状
that
态
are
哈，
suitable to
还有
your
在什么时候穿，
environment, to the
你选
weather,
择
to
它啊。
when you wear the
但是他
shoes.
家的这个鞋子那个，
But
尤其是鞋
generally,
底哈，特别
these
就是一个
shoes,
是耐磨，
the soles
还有
are
防滑，
are
这些功
very
能都是一流的好。
they're not
啊，
slippery
就是我是
and
穿了
they
很多
can
双，
be
都
worn
是
for
非
a
常好
very
的。
long time.
它
I've
好像就是对
worn
人
many
体就它
pairs of
支撑
shoes
脚
from
的
this
那种
company.
感觉也特
The
别好。
support,
对
the arch
也就是它
support
那个
is
鞋
very
底的
good
那个
too.
感觉呢，它不是
The
因为
sole
很多人买鞋的时候会出现一个错误的判断，就是买
Sometimes
鞋呢
when
一
people
说
buy
你，尤其这个
shoes,
脚这
they
个手呢
have
在
a-
鞋底里按一按，
they
说
would
你看
want
多
to
软
try
啊！
to press down
我告诉
on
大家哈，
from the
你只要
inside
越按
and
特
see
别
how
软，
soft it
就
is.
越软，
The
走路
softer
就越
it
累
is, the more tiring it is
很多
when
人
you
不知
walk
道
in these shoes.
啊。所以你比如说你
Many
出去
people
买个
doesn't
菜，
know it.
你
Say
在
that
路
if
上
you
在那
go
个店里
and
头走
buy
才半个小时，
grocery, if you
你就
walk
觉得
in
腿
the
很疲劳，
grocery store
是因
for
为
half
鞋
an
底太软。
hour, and if you feel very tired, it's because
所
the
以像
soles
那
are
个
too
鞋
soft
底的
and it doesn't give you
非常
enough
正
support.
常、非常合理的那个软硬度、弹性，就是我穿的这双鞋子，
The MERRELL,
叫
the
MERRELL 这个
MERRELL
牌子的
shoes,
那个鞋
they
底，
have
它那个
adequate
支撑的那个
support
软硬的感
and
觉是最
the
佳的。
the
所以它
softness
那
is
个
also
设计
very
师
suitable.
是非常的
So
贴心，
the
非常理解
designers
人体
are
一种抗疲劳感。
The
因为这个
designers are
鞋
very
子
good. They
应该
know
做出
how
来主要
to
是
resist
出去
tiredness.
真正爱旅游，
And
去登山，
most
去
people
爬
will
山，
wear
走
these
各
for
种各样的
hiking
路
and
来
walking
设
on
计的。
different types
所
of
以它这
roads.
种一个是耐
And
磨
so
性
it's，
还有这
designed
种支撑
it
的这抗
resist
疲劳感是最好的。
resist
所以因为
tiredness.
很多人不太理解这个鞋子还有
Many
这么多
people
讲究嘛，
doesn't realize
不
that
是
buying
你
a
变得
shoe
很
has
讲
so
究，
many
而是我们当有
things that
年
you
龄的
need
时
to
候，
consider.
你这个鞋子，你就扛着你这个这么重的一个身体哈，
Your
所
shoe
以鞋子
supports
的那
all
个
your
鞋底
body
的好坏
weight,
对
and
你
so
的
the
感觉特
soles
别的
is
重
very
要。
important,
所以有
and
一
it's
双好
very
鞋子你会
important.
轻
It
松。
will affect how
所以
you
我就
feel.
穿它这个
When
品
you
牌的
wear
这
a
个
pair
鞋
of
子
good
哈，
shoes,
今天我穿的
you will
凉鞋
feel
都
more
才是，
relaxed.
就是
I even
那个
wear
鞋
summer
底
shoes
就是
from
摸起
them.
来挺硬的，
Although the soles feel
反
very
而它
hard,
抗疲劳是
but
最好的。
it will
虽
help
然硬，
you
但是它
to
能
feel
防滑。
relaxed.
因为
And
现在台湾经常下
it
雨哈，
also
那
it's
很多那
also
个
not
路铺的那
slippery.
个石头
When it's
板很
raining,
光滑，
when it's
它有
raining,
相
the
当的这个
roads
防滑
are
度。
slippery.
但是
But
每一种鞋
these
子的功能
soles
上，
are
它的防滑度也是
anti-slippery.
不同。就是
But
同样这
depending
个品牌
on
当中，
even
每一
with
双鞋的
this
防滑度也不
brand,
同。
every pair
它
of
分你
shoes
是
have
干啥用。
different functions.
所以
And
夏
so
天呢，
the
我是建议大家买这
so
个
in the
凉鞋，
summer,
或者
I
比较
would
网眼透
recommend
气的
you
那个
to
鞋。
buy
虽
breathable
然网
shoes
眼
from
透气
them.
也是很牢固的，也是不容易
Also,
坏的。
they are breathable and
这
the
是
fabric
我的
is
介
very
绍，我
thin,
现在还
but
没收到
it's
他给我的广告
very
费和
made
赞助费，
sturdily.
就是因为好嘛，
I
所
haven't
以我才给
received
网
any
友介绍的啊。
advertisement
所以
payment
我们
from
和
this
他没有
company,
任
but
何利
it's
益的
very
关
good
系。
shoes that I've
我觉
been
得好就
wearing for
推荐给
years.
我们的网
I
友。
feel that it's very good, so that's why
还
I
有昨天
recommend
看那
it
个
to
师傅
you.
杂货铺这个直播的
Yesterday during Master's
非常
live
好哈，
session
可是还不过瘾，因为
many
好多还
people
没有介绍到。
was
咋没介绍到呀？
liked
还有比
it,
如说那个
but
佛像
many
旁边的
things
那个黄
was
色的瓶子呀，
was
什么
not
宝瓶啊等
introduced
等，要不
yesterday.
然慢慢介绍吧，咱
Can
宝
we-
贝那么多。
There
慢
are
慢介绍，
too
慢
many
慢介绍。
treasures to
今天我就 就介绍一个啊，别
Today
人
I'll
说的这个
only
黄瓶子
tell
哈，
you one
来
thing.
丫头
How
给我拿
about
过来。
this yellow vase?
这个黄瓶子哈，今天我们增加一点趣味性哈。
Let's make this interesting today.
我们怕它晃呢，所以它底下粘了一块
We
那
don't
种胶
want it
皮
to
胶，叫什么胶啊？
We want to protect
粘
it,
土啊，
so we
一种
have a
粘土，
piece of
这样
blue
你不用
tack.
它的时候就揪下来也不会粘住的哈。大家网友朋友，你看这个样子像个
Look at this. What do you think this is?
像个酒壶啊，
Like a
酒壶、水壶。
wine bottle, water bottle?
对，这个盛啥都可以啊。
It can hold anything.
好吧，不卖关子了哈，当场我就解
I'll
释。
tell you the
这
answer.
个这个壶 是唐代的
This is a
所谓
Tang
唐三彩
Dynasty,
当中的黄彩，
um,
它没有加别的色，就是一个黄彩。
a yellow-glazed
那么这是一个也这个
pottery
叫直壶，就是有一个把儿能拿着，
there is
拿
a
着就叫
handle
执
where
着
you
的执
can
嘛哈。
hold on
这
to
直
the
壶这有个把，
to the
这个把上头呢
to
做
the
了一个猴
ewer
头，
and on the handle
它
there
是
is
一
a
个
monkey
艺术
head.
造型，一个猴头。哎，那这里呢，如果装上水的话，叫做猴子捞
If you
月。
put water in there,
但是
then
这个样子呢，这个口这里有把它，你看，
it's as if
变成这个样
the
子。
monkey is
其实
trying
这个都
to
是在 唐代的首
get the
都，
moon from
就是在现
the
在的
moon's
中国
reflection from
陕
the
西省的
water.
西安市，
对，
是吧？西安那个地方偏的
Yearly
黄土高原，因为唐代的首都在西安，
In the Tang
如果他们
Dynasty,
再往
the
西北
capital
走，
city is
全
in
是荒
Xi'an,
漠
and that
啊
is，the
到中东
west,
到新疆，
in
再
the
远
west
到
of
西藏
China.
等等，它可以
And
进
if you
行所谓
continue
丝
to
绸
go
之
to
路
the
当中
west,
的一个
you
最
will
大的
go
一个
onto
供
the
货点。
Silk Road.
对，所以在唐代的艺术作品之中
So，in many
常常
of
就有
the
骑着骆驼的
artworks from
胡人，胡
Tang
人就是现在的
Dynasty,
中东
you
人，
will see
比如说土
many
耳其啊、伊拉克呀，
foreign
他
figures
穿着那个衣服，
like
坐着骆驼，因为
people
骆驼
from
可以远
Turkey
行，可以
or
穿过沙漠。
Iraq,
他们来，但是他们来
and
的时候，
such
他的带
figures will
水
be
的工具
riding
是什
on
么？
a camel.
皮
And
囊
when
没错
such
了，
people
是皮
come
囊。
from such a long
这个最原始的
distance
皮
away,
囊呢，
what do they
是
use
动
to
物的
carry
膀胱做的。
carry water?
你现在听起来就有点恶心哈，但是在古代那个时候，如果他在沙漠上，他背着东西走，如果背陶的就容易
They
碰
will
碎了，
use
那水就没了。
a type of
那个皮囊只要是不
bag,
扎它，把它
like
塞
a
紧了的话，
leather
它就
bag
不
to
漏
hold
水。
water.
不管有
And
没有腥
in
味儿，
the
有没有
very
膻味儿，
beginning,
它肯定经过一个
these
处理
type
的
of
过程。
bags
它要
are
是一个是让它牢固，第二个
produced
减少过去的味
using
道，对不对？
animal bladders.
减少过去
They
那
are
个动物的
probably
味道，所以它做了很多处理。
processed
所以
to
过去的那个
be
在沙漠之中盛水的
safe.
那个壶那个容器，
And so
就是
previously,
笼统来说属于
when
皮囊类。
travelers going
所以
through
在过
deserts
去
will
唐代
use，
因为
such
它和
a
中东地区的贸
bladder
易往来
bag to
太
hold
太
water.
丰富了。
And in the
太
Tang
丰富了，
Dynasty,
就
there
是
was a
每
lot
天
of
在
trade
唐代，
between the
那唐
Tang
代非常开
Tang
放哦。
Empire
它经济为什么那么繁荣呢？用了大量的
and
黄
the
金呢
Middle？
沙漠
Eastern
地区产
countries.
石油产黄金呢，知道吗？
And
所以
the
当时
Middle
的
East,
胡人
the
的
Middle
商队
Eastern
带来了大
countries
量的黄金
brings in
来
a
换
lot
取
of
中国的
gold
陶瓷和丝
and
绸，
trade
还
for
有宝
silk
石之类的，
and
是这样的。
pottery and
所以
and
当时中国向世界
semi-precious
的这个
gems.
商贸往来，
And so
在
at
唐
that
代是最
time,
发达的，
the trade,
真是很
the
发达。所以
international
那个时
trade
候
was
唐代也是
very
很富有。
um,
所以
very
那个时候那
prosperous
里出
in the
现这
Tang
个陶
Dynasty,
瓷
and
器
the
的这个
Tang
容
Dynasty
器，
is
就
very
其中就
wealthy.
仿了
And
这个
so
皮
such
囊的
a
那个壶的样子，
such a
做成陶的。
ewer actually
所以上头这个
imitates
口儿
the
特别明
water
显的有一
bottle.
种胶皮皮囊的
And
那
so
种感觉。
The
就这
opening
个
of
形状
this
就
vase
是一个羊膀胱的一
imitates
个形状。
the imitates
得
the
别恶
leather,
心
right?
哈。
And
那
the
所以
shape
古
of
人
the
的话一
vase
定要取
actually
一个自然
imitates
的最方便的。
a lamp
那烧
bladder.
陶它戴在骆驼上、马上，一不小
If
心就
they
摔了，
were to
所以不
carry
能在
a
沙漠上把它渴
pottery
死，所以
water
一定会用
bottle
皮的。那
when
个时候又没有
traveling
塑料，
in
又没
the
有胶
desert
皮，只能用
on
动物的某
camels,
个东西。
it might break it
就是
very
这样。
easily and
所
lose
以
all
之
the
前我也讲
water.
过羊皮
So it
筏
was
子嘛，
very easy to
对，
use such
它因为
animal
羊
bladders to carry
那
water.
杀了之
And
后
it's
把
very
肉全
convenient
取出
too.
来，把这个腿部的
Previously,
地
I've
方全
also
部绑
talked
死了
about
之后吹气，
how people
吹了气几个绑在一起之后
would
过黄
use
河，
lambskin
就像今
to
天的是那个救
create
生圈一个道
a
理。
boat
100个
to
救生圈
across
就
the
可以组
Yellow
成一个
River.
大的一个橡皮艇啊，对不对？就可以过河呀。
It would be
如果
in
后
the
头
same concept.
装上一个什么螺旋桨的话，快速就能过
哎
去，一样能飞跑。就是
It
今
would be
天
in
把
the
那
same
个
concept
救生圈
as a
绑起来
life
的，
buoy.
就是这么简单的道理。所以这个就是一个仿生
So
性的一个
this vase
唐代的这样一个
imitates
这个一个
a water bag from the Tang Dynasty.
1000年喽。
So
1000
this ewer is over 1,000 years old.
大概就是这么个东西啊。
So that's my
嗯
short
也是一个聚宝
introduction.
盆呐。
也是个聚宝盆。
Yes, this
那
would
今天
also
有
work as a
网友抽
treasure
奖的话就送给你。
bottle. If we do a prize straw today, this would be one of the gift. No, master, let me stop it.
好吧。 觉真，你还有啥？
No, when you need to let go, you need to let go. 觉真 what else? What other
对，
precious
这
things
是
do
我
you
们很
have?
多就从中国也好，外国也好，
Whether
它
it's
在
in
每一个
China
时
or
期的
in
任何
foreign
一个
countries,
用器
in
啊，
different
一个东
times,
西，第一个就是实用，第
people
二个
look
有它这个
for
地方的文化的色彩、民族色彩，
people use things that
对，
are
就是一
easy
定
to
是这样
use
子的啊。
and
对，
have
这个大家有长点见识。
怪不得
and
这
are
么美，
influenced
对，
by
大
their
家就是
culture.
看着都说这个美，网友
People
都
were
好喜欢。
were
这个就
commenting
是
how
唐代
beautiful
皇右之
this
虎
it is.
哇哦，
So this
还有
is
的
a
比这
Tang
个更像
Dynasty
那个胶囊的
yellow-glazed
啊，对，这个
ewer.
还算是正常的一个样
This
子。
is still this is
老师
actually
傅
a
又让我们
normal shape.
开了眼界，长了
Thank you,
知识。
Master,
好
for，
我看大
giving
家
us
昨天
more
留言还
knowledge.
挺热情热烈的
People
啊。
had
有时
left a
说
lot of
是
comments yesterday. They were very
如果大家
enthusiastic.
喜欢，我
If
会
you like it,
筹办下一次
I
这
will
个讲这些
I will
知识。
get prepared for
这些宝
another
物是在你
session.
讲才知道它的宝贵，
It's only
不讲你
when
会觉得这
I
是一个
talk
垃圾。
only
很多
when
时候
people
是这个
tell
样
you how precious
你
they
把
are,
这
they
个壶
realize how
没有洗，它脏兮
how
兮的
unique
放到
they
垃圾
are.
那儿，都没
If
人理
nobody
它的。
tells you about it, you probably
这样
think that it's a piece of rubbish.
对，
If this
但是你把
vase
这个
was
壶
very
今天放到五
dirty
星级酒店放
and
在那儿，大家觉得
and
这一
it's
定是
in
贵的，因为那旁边的
a
东西
pile
都
of
贵嘛。
garbage,
就是
it
这样
would be
所以
nothing.
一个
But
一
if
个
it
东
was
西分
cleaned
放
up
在什
and
么地
placed
方，
in the lobby of a 5-star hotel,
这
you know
个
how expensive it
我
is.
不是宝贝多，是我善于去
It's
收
not
集
that
它，
I
去
have
发
a
现
lot
它。
of treasures,
我
but
我
it's just
多
that
数
I
的这
have
个宝
very
贝
keen
呢，
eyes.
都是别人都当做
Most of my
很低级的
treasures
东西的时候，
are
哎，我
what
呢就
people
会
feel
看到它的价
is
值，
trash,
看到它的
and I
文
would
化的知
find
识，
the
看到它那
value,
个背景之
find
后，
the
我就会
background
去
of
买。
it,
对，
and then
当
I
然也有
would
很多很内行的人，
be able
他
to
就卖
get
的是
it.
天价，我当然就拿不
Some
起，就
people
只能放。
will sell it
很
for
多好的东西
an
是不能
incredible
拿的，
price,
因为
and
太
I
贵
would
了，
give up because
所以
it's
只能
too
找到一些
expensive.
人家放弃的
So
东
I
西，
can
但
only
是
find
我确
things
实能
that
看到。
are
所以给网
that
友教
people
路了
give
之后
up
呢，
thinking it's
所以就凭
trash.
这一点哈，很多网友都会变成将来是大富大贵。
So even with
哎，
this,
你
many
也想
people
变
may
成大
one
富
day
大贵
become a wealthy
啊，
person.
在旧
So
货
if you
就
want to
看出
become
普通的东西
wealthy,
当中找到宝贝的话，我估计你还
you
得继
can
续
try
听
to
我的
find
那个
货
啊
铺，
杂货铺
valuables
这个
in
杂货铺
a
的这个
pile
讲
of
座里，
rubbish. If
才
you
会
want to learn to
你才
do
会
that,
长到
then
更
you
多的
should
这个
listen
知识，
to my
要不然我也
series
没有机
on
会给你
these.
那么系列的那么讲这些东西
真
啊。
Otherwise, I
对，
don't
这
have
也
a
没有
chance
这
to
也算
talk
是
to
陶
you
瓷当
about
中的一个
these.
环节啊。
So
啊，
this
这就
is
是
just
昨天不是看
one
到那个
small
三国时
aspect
期的
of
那个
porcelain.
陶
那个罐
瓷
嘛哈，
的，对，
Remember
上面那个
the
釉
pot
都是
that
一
we
斑
saw
斑
from
点
斑
the
斑点点那
Three
个，
哎，
就
Kingdom
一到了
era?
唐代了，就成这样子，
光鲜哦，
That
就光
was
鲜了。
um,
那么再过
from
了300-500年之
even
后，到了
older.
宋代了嘛哈，
嗯，
那个釉就
After
是
the
由
Three
皇帝
Kingdoms
天青
era,
色
then
皇
we
帝特
see
制了，
these
它
Tang
从颜
Dynasty
色就
ones,
是
and
对釉的
afterward
研究
it's a Song
和对于
Dynasty.
形状的研究就
where
更考究了。
对，
The Song
对
到了元就
Dynasty
元青
becomes
花了，
more
对，到了元要有
particular
元
about
的
the
特色
color
哈。
and the
元代
shape.
其实又
Then
是一个叫做
when
民
we're
族和
onto
文
the
化大
Yuan
融合的
Dynasty,
时期哈。
it's a
所以
melting
那
pot
个
of
元代的
culture
很多艺
and
术品其实是
so
已
many
经
of
就
the
很丰富了
artworks
原来
are
中国传统的那个样子。
嗯，
它结合了一个是
are
蒙古人的文化，
a
对对，
其实
mixture
还
of
结合了
cultures
西洋文
from
化。
还有西洋的
Mongolia
波斯那
and
边
from
对，
嗯
所以正是
Persia.
因为元代
And
元
because
元代人
of
他们不是
these
去打过这
打到
个欧洲
欧洲
嘛，
对，
because
到欧
Yuan
洲之后
Dynasty
再
they
回来的时
actually
候
fought
还
all
带
the
回来了
way
很多
into
的工
Europe.
匠、富
And
人，
when
还
they
有他
came
的文化
back,
艺术
they
品，
brought
所以
many
才有了另外一种
artworks and
对所谓
many
西藏本八
artisans.
壶以
And
为
then
基本特
that's
点的非常夸
how
张
you
的，
can
所以
see
今天你一
these
看，其实就是穆斯林。中东穆
Tibetan
斯林用的一些那个器皿
bottles.
的那个样子，
Why
而
it
成为
has the
这
shape
个
of
就是
a
蒙古
Muslim
族
vase.
和藏族佛教发展之中
And
的
so it
那样很
becomes
有特点的那个
a
样子。
very
那他们也不知道怎
special
么来的，怎么造
object
出这么个怪玩意儿
in
来？实际上
Mongolia
从波斯那么
and
传过来
Tibet, and
就是在
because
于
they
蒙古
inherited
人
the
这
shape
一路这个发
from
展之后带回来的。
from
哎呀，师傅说的我们都流口水啊，就很想就。
Master. That's
哎
very
继续还能
interesting.
够
We want
看
to
到一
hear
些
more
宝贝
about
再听
it.
师傅讲。
所以
I
还
want
得
to
讲，因为
see
之
these
前上课
treasures
之中我们
too.
讲到，叫做色目人，大家还记
Previously,
得吗？
we
啊
talked
色
about
目人
有吗？听过这个色目人吗？
有听在讲家训的时候呢，以前讲。
这不是
we
好学
talked
生哈。
about
哎
色目
色目
people.
人就是
色目
元
people
元代，就是
are
蒙古族 不是往这个欧洲
are
发展
from
过
the
吗？
Yuan
欧洲
Dynasty.
发展过的有很多男男女女，从这个商人再到不一定都是来逮捕过来的，啊，就是有很多是花钱请过来的，还
So
有请过
some
来来做
people
官的，
are
不是我们想象的绑架哈，
are
很多
people
是用
who
重金请过来的
migrated，
就是他就是
to
现在的西方人的样
the
子，
Chinese
就是意大利
region
人
from
啊，这个
Europe,
波斯人，
and they look
中
like
东人
Europeans. For example,
对
they look
还
like
有这个
Italians or Middle Easterns
什么人？土耳其人
and
啊，
Turkish
还有正宗的欧洲人啊，那个叫什么
and
希腊
Caucasians
人
and
啊，意
Greeks.
大利人都有。
对，
对，那所以这些它的眼睛的
So
颜色和我们
these
这个亚洲人
these
颜色有差别的，比如说蓝眼珠、特别黄眼珠等等的
migrants
哈，
they
这
would
叫色
have
目人。
green
就是有颜
eyes
色
or
的眼
blue
睛的人。
eyes.
那元朝人把他们带过来之后
And，
来到中国，
The Yuan
一个
Dynasty
是
brought such
富贵
people
的商
to
人，还
China
有做高
from
官的，
Europe,
这
and
大家不知
these
道
are
吧？
yearly
就他也很开
businessmen,
放的，
or they
而他对
become
下面的管理也同样的
public
严格。
servants in the
我查他历
government.
史资料的时候，也同样是蒙古族，所以
When
他
I look at
多
historical
占了人家
records,
30亩地，这个抓起来，啊，关到监狱去，
we
就是他们的
realized
官员
that
这个
in
元
the
朝
Yuan
一
Dynasty,
样的。
the
对。
government was very
所以
strict.
他的倒掉不是因为他绝对的贪腐，
So
不
the
是绝对
Yuan
的贪腐，
Dynasty
就是一个
didn't
外来民族
fail
统治
because
另外一个
of
不属于
their
你本土民
greed,
族的时候，
but
本来
it's
就容易产生
because
矛盾和仇恨，
嗯
是不容易的。
没有扎住根。
对，没扎住
because
根，
they
还有管理
didn't
方法上还不够那么深入，
really settle down
细节以后我们
in
再
the
说哈。
mainland China.
所以就是因为这
So
样的
that
融
we can
合，
talk
才
about
使
this
中国的
later.
文化
But
又产
because
生了
of this
与蒙古、与
mixture
欧洲的
of
相关的融合。
cultures in China,
对，所以你像到了清朝呢，
when we
清朝的
arrive at the Qing
对
Dynasty,
满洲人过去称为叫女真，
Qing
女
Qing
真
Dynasty was
啊，甚至是
established
与
by
辽过
女
去的
真
辽国有关系，
契丹族，
契丹、辽、女真，
by
这
another
是
culture.
中国北部边远区域的这些
These
部落
are
的
people
结
who
合
come
体，
from far
重新
north
打回
China.
到中原来领导
And
大中国的时候，那他们的
They fought
这
their
种
way
文化又融合
into
了，所以
mainland
明代的
China
装
and
扮就是
led
中
the
国传统
government.
的那种装扮，从衣服
And
到
so
家
that's
具到
why
文
their
化，对不对？
clothing, their furniture,
当
and
这
their
样的女
culture
真
is
人
different.
打到了中原之后，
When
成立了
these 女
大
真
清王朝之
people
后，
came
所以
into
中国
mainland
所有的
China
图案
and
都改了，
established the Qing
这叫
Dynasty,
丰富
all
多
the
彩
motifs
啊，越来
have
越
changed,
土
and it all
啊，但是
also
越来越丰
flourished.
富了，也是。所以到了后来的，到了
So
清中
later
期、
on,
乾隆时期的
in
时候，
the
又很开放。所以乾隆
in
皇
the
帝，
mid-Qing
乾隆的那
Dynasty,
个
the
那
Qianlong
个林
Emperor
木，
嗯，
那个林木当中请
was
风水大师哈，
open-minded.
要查到一个是龙脉，那龙脉当中有个龙眼，就是他坟墓对着心脏的那个位置的那个底下有个眼，
The
那个
Qianlong
眼当
Emperor
中
was
就
very
是底下有他
particular
的20
about
公分
where
深、10
his
公分
tomb
直径
should
的一个
be.
一个圆洞，
And so
就在
he
石头
found
里
the
钻了个
feng
洞
shui
下去，
person
放最贵
to
重的宝贝
find
来代表龙脉的延续。
find
你知
a
道放的啥
place
吗？放的
to
手表
to
西
establish
洋来的，
啊，
the
那个
dragon's
手
heart,
表就是
where
当
that's
年
the
的
place
那个
where
北欧
it's
的那
most
个
important part of his
瑞
tomb.
士表，
And
瑞士表
when they
嗯
put
放了
in,
几块8
he
块几
would
块
put
手表，
in
好牛啊
precious
你想不到吧？
watches
真
from
是。
Europe
我们还
to
以为得放什么
to
黄金白银
symbolize
之类的。
不是
that
你为什么今天
his
教科书和大家都
his
是崇
um,
洋呢？是不是啊？其
generations
实教
will
科书是
last
中
a
文，
long
可是内
time.
容全是洋文的，对不对？
嗯，
就是你龙脉里头放的是
So at
西洋
that
的东西。
at that time,
这个
these
对
European
龙的
objects
本来应该
was the
放夜明
most
珠的，
expensive.
放夜明珠、
in
放美
China
玉的，
哎
就
呀
So
他那里头
yearly,
最贵重的是
the
手表，
Chinese people would put
好
in
玩吧？
beautiful
好玩。
对
jade,
所以这个机械运动，
in
乾隆皇帝
the
非
most
常喜欢
important place
啊，
of the
我也喜
tomb.
欢机械运
But
动，
Qianlong
所以我
Emperor
一直
put
想发明一
these
些不需要
mechanical
原料的那
watches.
个汽车，啊，
好，
I'm also fascinated by these mechanical
是吧？
things. I want to invent a vehicle,
对。
maybe in my
所以
next
在
life.
就是我们在研究历史的过
So
程
when we
之中
look
哈，
at
就
history,
是特别好玩，每一个
it's
东西
very
都有它那个
interesting.
年代
Everything
啊。你
has
像
a
前头
specific
这一
time
尊小佛像，
period.
昨天讲过，
For
来
example,
帮我
this
拿一
little
下
Buddha
啊。
statue.
哎，你看这个
We
小佛
talked
像，
about this
他
yesterday.
在来到这个世界上的这尊小佛像，这个时期，
This Buddha statue
这个时期，这个正是大明王朝
This statue was made when the Ming Dynasty was just established. Do you know where it was made? It was made in Nepal. How do you know it's made in Nepal? You can just look at the face of the Buddha. And that's the easiest and most direct way. Chinese Buddhas looks like Chinese people. Nepalese Buddhas look at Nepalese people. Do you know that there are even Buddhas that looks like Middle Eastern people? We can talk about it next time, and I can show you a picture of it. Why do I talk about it? You can Google. You can Google for a Buddha in Afghanistan. It's called the Buddha of Bamiyan. And it was bombed by the Taliban in year 2000. It was very unfortunate that it was bombed. For such an intolerant government, maybe it's not good for them to lead a country. Let's not talk about these. But when we look at a piece of history, you have to look at, you can look at the historical records and visualize a piece of history. What clothing are you wearing? What food are you eating? Maybe there's no McDonald's at that time. So it's very interesting. Through one item, it takes you all the way back to that period in time. And when you learn about the past, then you will be able to have a better knowledge of yourself in today. Then you can extend yourself into the future. There are many, many knowledge and waiting for you to learn. To read. All right, our next session, if you like it, maybe within half a month, we can prepare for another live feed in the series of my store. All right, what about our next live session? When is that? October 22nd. October 22nd in Asia, that is Thursday at 10 a.m. And in North America, that will be October 21st, Wednesday at 7 p.m. And the series for the live feed for my store will announce it later on. So subscribe to my YouTube channel and Facebook. Remember, if you ask your friends, your family to also subscribe, and then if you open the notification bell, you will receive the latest live feed notifications. So yesterday people asked if I can bless more gold vases. Yes, of course. Today I want to show you. I want to show you something. Let me show you these.
如意吉祥，
收到。
May everyone be auspicious, live a long life. Let's see you next time. 小的红点里，人生就此欢喜。我快乐了，我健康了，我幸福了，我美丽了。在茫茫人海之中，让我与你相遇。小小的红点里，人生变得神奇。我智慧了，我宽容了，我慈悲了，我自在了。因为有了你，生命变得更坚定，不忧忧无虑。因为有了你，日子不再有哭泣，不再有恐惧。我快乐了，我快乐了，我健康了，我健康了，我幸福了，我幸福了，我美丽了，我美丽了。